Hello there, it's Saxon22 here, playing War on the Sea by Killerfish Games. Today I'm going to show you how I use air power to hunt enemy ships, specifically with torpedo bombers and dive bombers. And I try and use them at the same time. So part of the problem is finding the enemy fleet, so you have to have scouts out from your carrier group. And I always make sure I've got planes up, combat air patrol to protect the group, but I push scouts out into likely areas, covering down on sectors where I think there will be enemy ships. And in this case I've located an enemy fleet, and you can see that they're traveling from the northwest to the southeast, and I'm positioning 2 flights of attack aircraft. Strike 1 is a bunch of dive bombers, and Strike 2 is a bunch of torpedo bombers. And what I'm going to try and do is locate the fleet to they should be somewhere to the right here, to the north of this group, somewhere where this red arrow is, heading in the direction of the red arrow. And there they are on the screen. We've located them right away. So now what we have to do is set up the fight. So I'm taking a look at where the biggest ships are. I'm aiming for the biggest ships in this particular convoy. This is a 8-boat convoy, or a 8-ship convoy. 2 heavy cruisers, 2 destroyers, and 6 merchant. Looks like some of them are gasoline and fuel transports, and some of them are mixed transports doing supplies and troops, I'm sure. So what I'm going to try and do is organize the route of the torpedo bombers first. I'm dropping the altitude, I should say. Otherwise they'll automatically, when they go on attack orders, they'll drop down to 150 feet. So I'm just kind of getting ahead of the schedule here by sending them to 160, and then I'm pushing them off to the right side, because torpedo bombers do better when they attack a ship from the side. Dive bombers do better when they attack along the long axis, or the length of a ship. So I've organized all 3 flights here of the torpedo bombers to push out to the side, and I'm going a little bit ahead of the fleet. It's paused right now, but the enemy fleet is traveling from left to right, and I am lining up my torpedo bombers to the right and slightly ahead. And then I'm going to do the dive bombers. I'm going to set in a course for these guys. I'm leaving the altitude as is, and I'm setting them up so they'll be flying along the length of the ship. Because when they drop, I put them in line formation, and that way they've got a greater chance of hitting the enemy ship when they're set in that formation and they travel down the length of the ship. You'll see what I mean when the actual attack happens here. So I'm getting all 3 flights of dive bombers into position, all 3 flights of torpedo bombers into position. And then when I think they're about the right distance, or the same distance apart from the fleet, I'm going to go ahead and set attack orders. So it's paused while I do this, and then you see them. This is the dive bombers moving into line formation here, and you see they're all pretty close. And I'm trying to time it so the attacks come from 2 different directions at the same time, so the whole convoy has to split its anti-aircraft gunfire between the 2 different groups at 2 different directions. That makes their chance of concentrating fire much less. So it increases, or I think it increases, the survivability of my aircraft. This is the way I do it. I don't know if this is the right way. I've never done the tutorial. But this is the way I do it, and I have quite a bit of success. I mean, I do lose aircraft when I time it badly, and I commonly lose a couple of aircraft each attack. Sometimes I'll get by without any losses at all when I time it perfect. So now I've reached the point where I'm setting the attack order. So I click on the flight of planes, click on T on the keyboard for target, and then click on the ship. In this case I'm concentrating everything on the heavy cruiser. And we're lined up now with the dive bombers, you can see, and then the torpedo bombers of, actually I've targeted the wrong ship here, I'm just going to fix that. Going for that one, and the reason I'm going for the closest heavy cruiser is because if torpedoes miss, they'll go straight past, and there's a chance that they'll hit ships on the other side, in the other column. So if you think of it as a left and right column, I'm hitting the right hand column. Any torpedoes that miss will attack by default, or accidentally on purpose. Keep going and push through and possibly hit a ship on the left side. And like I said, I'm concentrating all the fire onto just one ship, so that way I'm pretty much guaranteed that I'm going to sink something, which is kind of a cool part. Magic music playing in the background. And the anti-aircraft gunfire has started, and you can see here in a second or two we'll see the anti-aircraft fire that's shooting up at the bombers too. Up in the top left of the screen we should see it. There it is, little puffs of smoke up there. So the torpedo bombers are all lined up at 150 feet. If you don't set the altitude to 150 feet, then they have to take time to spiral down to that, so you can mistime your attack if you don't set the altitude. They'll still attack, but they'll take time to spiral down from about 5,000 feet to 160 feet. Here you can see the torpedoes attacking, and from the side on it's a much greater chance of hitting. That's why I push out that far. And by the way, I start the attack about 3 miles out, so if you're any closer, the enemy ships will start to scatter and turn, so your chances of getting a side-on attack are a lot less effective. And then the dive bombers are hitting, so that was slightly badly timed. But they're pretty close, within probably about 10 seconds of each other. And you see here I've definitely started to sink this heavy cruiser. And then I just rinse and repeat this attack system, or this attack method I should say. Yeah, it's definitely going down. And all the torpedoes hit, so nothing pushed past this ship. That's kind of a cool secondary explosion. And all the torpedoes hit, and most of the bombs hit. If you were watching the hits on the bottom, you do get dud torpedoes and dud bombs. So that is how I time the attacks. I hope that helps you. You can see on my victory screen here I got 14 points, and nothing else was damaged, everything got hit. So what I now do is rinse and repeat and launch another group of fighters to attack the same convoy. And you have to time that because there's a time gap between when planes take off and how long it takes the carrier to reset to launch more planes. So I push them down to one side here. Please like, share, comment and subscribe if you like the content. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.